So yeah, hi. I kind of just wanted to get into it. First off, I wanted to say hi, obviously, make sure that you're doing well and you're having a good day. It is a Monday, I'm pretty sure. So that means we're going to be talking about, codependency, navigating someone else's dysfunction, their alcoholism, or their addiction. Um, and what that kind of means for us in terms of, if we're a caretaker, if we're an observer. And then I want to share my own personal experiences and kind of tie in all the different themes of this support group, the SALT Circle, kind of tie in all of the themes that I touch upon in all the different discussions. I also wanted to, maybe introduce myself more to everyone and, let everyone know who I was and what I'm, doing here, especially if you have been following me for a while, especially on Instagram or on Kick or even on Discord. I just kind of want to fill everyone in on what's happening, especially since, my Kick channel has changed and things like that. So, hi. My name is Daniela. My friends call me Toasty, and I am someone who has recently realized that I have been struggling with themes of codependency and generational dysfunction. And as an adult, I'm trying to unlearn certain behaviors. And I really saw a need to share what I've been teaching myself and what I've been learning to share it with others because I feel like it's not as taboo as we might think. It's not as a one off, it's only happening to me. I have to keep it quiet as we might feel. And to have a support system that might be rooted in, alternative religious beliefs or maybe, very scarce religious beliefs, if, depending on your definition, but to have a place where we can all just come and discuss and find, solace in other people understanding and validating us, it might make those taboo challenges made even more taboo or more challenging because of generational dysfunction, a family member's addiction, or whatever other dysfunction or toxicity we might have, as a narrative in our life. I just wanted to create that, right? Sorry if that doesn't make sense. So yeah, I have really in the last couple of years have been trying to unlearn certain behaviors. I've been trying to understand myself from a third party viewpoint. I've been trying to also interact with my environment in a more meaningful way. And all of these things are really scary and really fucking difficult. I think too, by me sharing what I'm going through, it might make it easier for others who might be going through the same thing to recognize, like, hey, maybe my relationship patterns are not conducive to a happily ever after or my own needs getting met and figuring out why that is, or being able to express yourself better. I really feel that what I've gone through might help someone else. I don't know, maybe I'm at that age in womanhood where I don't have kids. I'm all alone in like, a certain aspect. So to share my experiences and to pass on my knowledge, it's something that I want to do. So I am doing it to you. Congratulations. Yay. So yeah, like I said before, let's just get on into it. So Welcome. This is a channel that I call the Salt Circle. There is also, a Discord, a Kick, a YouTube, an Instagram, a TikTok. I'm trying to really spread all over the place just to make myself more accessible to people who, might benefit from experiences that I have or pieces of advice that they might not get until after the fact. Um, you know, Coming from personal experience, I have gotten so much good advice or so much nuggets of knowledge after the fact, after I've needed it, that it has actually made me very angry. So, I really want to pass what I know on to others because if I can alleviate that frustration or that incredible amount of grief and shame, especially coming from one codependent to another, I get that. So I definitely want to do that. So the Salt Circle was really, like I said, created out of what I thought was a need for a alternative Al-Anon pagan meeting or support group. If you're unfamiliar with it, Al-Anon and coda, Al-Anon standing for, the people who have been affected by someone else's addiction. So in the 1980s, the wife of one of the co-founders of AA, which was Alcoholics Anonymous, she created what was called Al-Anon, and that was because she saw a need arising from the people that would be brought to AA or NA meetings. She saw, the mothers, fathers, spouses, siblings, friends, girlfriends, boyfriends, whatever, children even. She saw all these people coming to bring their loved ones to these meetings, whatever. So when all these addicts and all these people in recovery were in their meeting, this co-founder's wife saw a need for everyone else to maybe benefit from a meeting. And that's how Al-Anon was born. It was for specifically the people who were not the addicts, but were directly affected by the people who had addictions or were in active recovery because, addiction, regardless of the type, whether it's a chemical addiction, gambling, sex, spending money, whatever the fuck, to be affected by someone else's dysfunction and then to, let's say you have kids with them, let's say they are your kid, all the complexities that come with that dynamic, there was a real need for those individuals to have a place to share triumphs and challenges and their experiences. And maybe together they can find validation and to be galvanized to act in a certain way that suited their own interests better. We'll get into that more in a little bit. So that's Al-Anon. CODA stands for Codependence Anonymous. And, I have been aware that I was codependent or that I am codependent since my mid 20s, let's say. That was when I first got a label for my fucking dysfunction, right? Up until then, I always knew that shit was dysfunctional, but I was just so far in the dysfunction, it was hard to realize that it was dysfunctional. But things never sat well with me. So being codependent, you tell people that you're codependent, and they automatically think like, oh, well, what were you addicted to? And codependency has nothing to do with being addicted to a chemical or a substance or sex, gambling, whatever. To be codependent, that means that, I'm codependent. So I'll use myself as an example. Codependency is where I am not okay. I'm not okay unless you're okay. So that means that I have created this irrational, inflated, prioritizing compulsion to always make sure that this other person who is, usually in a space of a close relationship, whether it's a relationship partner, it's a really close friend, it's a sibling, it's a parent, grandparent, grandchild, whatever, it's where you are enabling someone else's dysfunctional behavior. And dysfunctional behavior can be someone is a fucking terrible alcoholic. They can't hold down a job. They don't have a driver's license. They beat their wife every other day. You don't care. You will always make excuses. You will always bail them out of jail. You have to make sure that they're okay for you to be okay. You will shield them from any consequence that is their own doing because you feel this responsibility for them. And we'll get into more of that later. So codependency can also be like, my girlfriend is she's not an alcoholic, but every time she gets drunk, she likes to drive because she has this compulsion for risk-taking behavior. She likes to get into fights, she likes to drive drunk, she enjoys, playing Russian roulette, whatever the fuck, right? So I will always make sure that I stay awake all night waiting for my girlfriend to come home because you are trying to ensure that they're okay. You need to make sure that they are fine. They're happy. They have their car. They're not arrested. They didn't lose their wallet. That takes priority above all else to your own detriment. So codependency has nothing to do with being an addict yourself. However, a codependent does have an emotional and behavioral pattern of neglecting themselves for the benefit of another who often does not deserve it, right? And I can say that, my father is a drug addict. He has been a drug addict since before I was born. Since he was like 13 years old is the first time I heard my grandparents, his parents, trying to rationalize and excuse his behaviors by like, oh, he can't control it. He's not well. Someone slipped something into his drink and da 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 da. All right, whatever. So, my father being this drug addict who his parents constantly enabled, they were codependent. They would bail him out of jail. They would get him lawyers. They would put him in rehab. Even if his insurance denied it, they would just pay for it out of pocket. As I'm sure some of you can imagine how expensive that is, especially in the 80s and 90s. My grandfather bought my father cars, tow truck companies, apartment buildings so he can manage. And my grandfather really tried every single time for 30 years to set my father up. And every time my father would fuck up and fail and fall into his ways of addiction and, being a fucking convict and all around asshole, Grandpa would always, my son is sick, and just shell out more money. Here's an apartment, here's therapy, here's a new car, here's this, here's that. Now you will get on your feet. And every single time, my dad wouldn't. And if anything, he got worse with his addiction. So I have a very raw understanding of codependency and enabling and addiction from a third party outside perspective, right? But then to realize a lot of my behaviors as an adult, and this is the weirdest, most fucked up part. A lot of my behaviors as an adult, I realize are stemming out of fears and insecurities and learned dysfunctional behaviors from my childhood watching my grandparents manage my father's addiction because my grandparents raised me. My father had no ability to raise me. My mother wasn't in the picture. So my grandparents kind of like, all right, we'll keep her. Um, However, as an adult, some things I've recognized, especially in the last couple of years, as being byproducts of that dysfunctional dynamic. And it's weird. It's weird to see yourself, even if you're thousands of miles away or decades later, to see yourself actually hindered subconsciously by narratives or themes that are irrational, dysfunctional, or just full on toxic. For example, my father being a drug addict my entire life, his parents would always give him money. My father lived in my grandparents' guest bedroom my entire life. Ever since I was a little kid, he was just always in their room. Whatever. So I remember from a very young age, like maybe second grade, third grade, feeling this immense third party embarrassment or this immense sad shame because I wanted to go to a bake sale and I asked my dad for money. My dad's never had a job. He's never gone past the learner's permit. He's never had to. His parents always provided. So I would have to ask my grandparents. You see what I mean? So like, I understood. And another thing about being, codependent, growing up in dysfunctional families, childhood trauma, you become hyper vigilant of people's nonverbal communication, because you want to make sure everyone's okay. You want to make sure if there's going to be a freak out, blow up, argument, blah, 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 you're very hyper vigilant. You're very aware of how people are responding, reacting, even if it's not through words. So as a little kid, I was very aware of my father feeling either shame or embarrassment or sadness. So I never wanted to ask my dad for money. Bake sale, yearbook, anything. And I never wanted to ask my grandparents for money because they were old. I had this very present idea of money scarcity and this resource scarcity, and I almost felt responsible for it. And as a kid, I never blamed like, oh, it's because my dad never, la, 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 or it's because my no, I just understood that there was this tension or this stress. And to alleviate that, I never wanted to ask for anything. I never wanted to say like, hey, it's picture day. I want a picture. Or, hey, it's, Candygram. I want to buy my friends flowers. No, because I felt so guilty because I understood that everyone also felt really negative and sad. So as an adult, I've realized this in my dating life. I will not ask the person that I'm dating to pay for anything. I will always assume that I'm paying for myself. And in my past relationships, every relationship that I was in, except for one, I was the breadwinner. And these aren't mutually exclusive. These are interwoven themes. And we have to come to that core memory, that core formative realization of where does this come from and how can I understand it in a way that's not going to hinder me? Like it's a very taxing process and it's a very exhausting process, to introspectively analyze yourself is what I call shadow work. It's a Carl Jungian, psychological theory about understanding and integrating your subconscious with your conscious and I'm all about it. And I really I right before I start rambling. So that is codependency and navigating someone's addiction, right? A little bit. And then I also like to talk about every Wednesday, same time, 8 p.m. I like to discuss death, dying, and bereavement. And bereavement is another word for grief, right? And that's only because, again, in my personal dysfunctional experience, addiction or dysfunction is tethered to death. It is. I say that because, when I was in foster care, the amount of accidents or things that would happen that would make it very obvious, I don't even know. And then at a later point, when I was in my late 20s, taking care of my grandmother, my grandfather, and then coming to the realization that my father will die soon, but what am I expected to do with that? He has been an addict and an abuser my entire life. Do I need to take care of him? Am I an asshole for saying no? And what comes with that? So I feel like death, dying, and bereavement and codependency, navigating someone else's addiction and dysfunction, I feel like it's pretty related. I feel like you don't really get one without the other. And I don't mean for that to sound dark, but I do want, everyone to be as prepared and as rooted in reality and, responsibility for their own happiness as possible. So that's kind of why the SALT circle was created. I really wanted to focus on codependency and navigating that on Mondays. And then on Wednesdays, navigate death, dying, and grief and what that's like, especially through a codependent lens. So, if anyone has any questions, anyone has any concerns, or anyone has any things that they want to talk about regarding these themes, I would love to hear your opinion. Definitely like and share, follow, comment. Any kind of interaction is always super appreciated. And of course, just you listening to me and you taking in what I'm saying is definitely like just such a huge motivation to continue what I'm doing. I have to admit, like, part of what I'm doing is cathartic. It is, for myself. I do see a need to heal myself, and an easy way to do that is to make it a community effort, see who else needs to heal. And maybe it's easier to heal others or help others heal than it is to focus on my own fucking things that need healing, which we can get into at another time, but whatever. I especially think that I don't know if it's become because I came from a Sicilian household or I'm from, decades ago, but there was a lot of taboo or a lot of hesitation, resistance, or even, uh, social exiling when it came to sharing our experiences. I mean, it wasn't until so recently that people were allowed to get divorced from one another, that people were allowed to really make their own lives separate from their families or move away and like start a new life. I also think that social media and computer mediated communication has granted us the ability to connect with one another and share our experiences and really find resources from one another that we might not have received otherwise. I mean, I know for myself when my grandma was dying in because she wanted to die at home, whatever, grandma, do you. She wanted to die at home and she had stage 4 fucking squamous cell carcinoma in her lungs and it metastasized. And like, I remember not knowing how to pick her up out of bed. And I mean, look at me. Look at these arms. What is that? What is that? That's not grandma pick up out of the fucking bed worthy. I don't know what that is. This is extra struggle. That's what that is. And like I remember after my grandma died, I was seeing dumb amounts of this is how to safely pick up someone who's immobilized out of a bed. Oh, blah, blah, blah. I was seeing so many things, so many resources, so many videos, articles about what to do if someone who is terminally ill is not able to swallow. How do you get them to take their medication? What do you do? Actually, what do you do? Because they're not going to teach you this in a home economics class. There's not going to be some college course or some fairy godmother that's just going to present itself when it's time. Like, oh, hey, your dad is going to die in 2.5 years from a fucking degenerative disease that you have no control over. What do you do? What do you do? You know, are you prepared for it? And especially as we become older, as we grow older, and as our loved ones grow older, or as the people who are dysfunctional get worse in their dysfunction, what are you gonna do? And I'm not saying this to scare you or, be mean, but we have to be rooted in real life and we have to take responsibility for our life. And it has to start at a time when you at least have some preparation. Like, you don't want to be like me and be in the middle of people dying and just all this transformative fucking shit happening before you realize, like, hey, I need some help. Where do I go? And then, hey, where do you go? Who do you turn to? I want to be that person you turn to because I've been through it and it sucks and I get it. And you can be as real and as genuine and as cold as you want because trust me, when my grandfather was dying from COPD, which is a degenerative lung disease, I am still not processed. I still haven't processed. It's still a very, and he's been dead for about 2 years, but like thinking about his death before he died and understanding and being a part of the dysfunction, the chaos, the irrationality, and the abuse for 20 odd years. And then to look at someone who is dying and to, they still are codependent, they're still enablers, they're so far gone in their delusion of what they are doing as opposed to how they are coming off in real life. To handle that person dying actively under your care, oof, oof. That's all. I don't even know what to say about it, But like I get it. I get it. And like I remember talking to a relative and like I felt so bad about it, but it was so honest and so real and I was like I will feel relief when he does pass away and all the dysfunction with my dad, the house, everything, it goes away too. And there is that real relief that people are afraid to talk about, death and dying is a very taboo subject, and to talk about it, nobody talks about it. But then to throw in themes of dysfunction, addiction, enabling, fucking bullshit, to mix all that in with death and dying makes something that is already taboo completely fucking untouchable. And I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Um, yeah, I don't know. I've just been ranting. But I hope this video has made sense. Like I said in my last video, this is a very new channel. This is something that I plan on working on, twice a week until the end of time. So I hope you join me on Wednesday when we dive more into, death, dying, and grief, especially from the lens of someone who is codependent and pagan. If anyone can benefit from that, definitely share the link to them. If you think that this is a channel that is worth anything, definitely, like, subscribe, comment. All of it helps the algorithm, and definitely check out the YouTube page and the YouTube channel, which is posted as well. But I would love to hear what you guys have to say and what you guys have to think about what I just spoke about. So I'm going to start reading the comments. Okay. And there are no comments, so nice and easy. Nice and easy. I like that. I like easy. I might conclude that for today and for this video. Like I said, I'll be back on 8 p.m. on Wednesday. It is getting dark and I don't have a Ring camera. I got my phone. That's what I got. So, if you like what I talk about and you want to support me and my ramshackle stream, definitely subscribe, definitely share with your friends, and if you can, definitely check out my wish list. I feel like there's more that I want to talk about, but I also feel like I already talked about so much in the last half hour. Um, you know, Codependency, yeah? It's a bitch. It is. I feel like shadow work or working on your inner self or working on healing, the unresolved emotions that we might have. It's a lot like the creative process, like painting or sculpting. It's a cruel and unyielding process. It hurts to create, it hurts to become. But in going through the discomfort, in forcing ourselves past the pain, the doubt, and the, oh my God, what the fuck am I doing? This is shit. Once we get past that, we see something that's really indestructible and something that is really worth being proud of, and like, wow, this is solid. This is me. Shadow work is also something that takes practice. It's like going to the gym. You're not gonna have your dream body after one session at the gym, just like you're not gonna have complete control of your mind and your inner self after thinking about it just one time. Shadow work comes out of nowhere sometimes. It grips you, it arrests you, it holds on to you, and it won't let go. It is a damning experience sometimes. It doesn't have to be a regimented and scheduled routine like washing your face or going to the gym. It might just be when you're in the shower or driving your car and you just find yourself spiraling and ruminating and reminiscing and losing control of what you're thinking about and how you're feeling. And shadow work can just be saying, hey, stop. Let me just shake my head like an Etch-a-Sketch. Because sometimes you just gotta shake, 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 shake for it to erase. And sometimes you just have to breathe. Sometimes you just have to catch yourself and say, let's not. And that is shadow work, and that is practice, and that all culminates into a better sense of self, a better wholeness, a better reign on the volatile emotions and memories, you know? I don't know, but you know. Um, It was really nice talking to you guys. I hope you enjoyed what I rambled on about, and I hope you decide to subscribe. And, if you are on my Kick channel, I hope you look at my YouTube. And if you're on my YouTube channel, I hope you check out Kick. Either way, I hope you both check out the Discord and join in, as I have lots of resources, essays, and a chat room available for when I'm not streaming. But either way, I hope you guys have a good rest of your night. Okay?